Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. I am Mia, founder of Mob Portugal, a property advisory company that helps you buy and rent property like a local. Today we don't have my partner Rafael, but we have Gabriel here. Gabriel is the partner and the lawyer of his own law firm. It's a very dynamic law firm that's based in Lisbon, and they cover multiple areas. So I thought it would be interesting to have him here with us to share a little bit about immigration in general to Portugal and to Spain.
So thank you, Mia. I'm Gabriel. We have been helping foreigners to settle in Portugal for the past 5 years, but also with the Spanish market, we also have close connections there. Although we are established here, we can help in the whole Iberian Peninsula. Our main purpose is to make the transition for a new life easier, and we can cover all the topics that foreigners and expats normally find struggles with in Portugal. For example, corporate, real estate, and taxes are the main areas of our firm. Today we're going to cover a little bit more of the immigration side of things.
Thank you. Because immigration is basically where everything starts, right? When people thinking about relocating to a certain country or even to get residence, like golden visa, they don't have to move there, but just to obtain a residence. It's actually, I would say immigration covers a lot of areas because people do compare like tax and the time duration is needed, financial perspective of things. So Portugal and Spain, I don't know about you guys, I'm sure we have a lot of clients that come to us comparing these two countries. For example, and there's a lot of similarities, right? We have golden visa, Spain also has golden visa, digital nomad visa, passive income visa. So can you tell us a little bit about, compare just a little bit about Spain and Portugal? What's the common way of relocating to these two countries?
Definitely. So the legal framework in the whole Europe, it's quite similar. So all the options that are available in Portugal will be available in all countries in Europe, some with their particularities, but the process and the start is pretty much the same. You need to have a fiscal identification number. In Portugal is the NIF, in Spain is the NIE, and also for all immigration journeys, they always start with a bank account.
Okay, which is a little bit difficult nowadays.
Nowadays, yeah, it's getting tougher because especially in Portugal, the numbers, we have seen a chart that it's almost doubling each year in terms of new residence permit issued. So there is a lot of movement, a lot of interest, and this brings all type of sort of people to Portugal, and they need to do the due diligence, the double checks, their compliance. And yeah, and the banks and even the public officers, they are adapting themselves for all this movement.
They've never seen such a big demand in each sector.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's, in a way, it's a shame that they didn't foresee this coming, because Portugal is an amazing country. There's a nice weather, a really good quality of life. And both of us, we are immigrants as well. We are here. I'm Brazilian, Chinese, right? So yeah, we choose and we elected this country to live in. But yeah, immigration, it's the glue that sticks all together, because if you are a foreigner outside of European Union, because European Union has their own facilitated process to move over.
True.
But everyone has non-European from non-European Union. They need to go through the process of obtaining a residence visa and a residence permit. And yeah, that's what sticks all together. And once you start concerning about your visa, you also will have doubts regarding how much taxes you will pay, how you keep working, even if it's remotely, if it's locally, if you're going to open a new company here, or if you're going to start an endeavor. In anyways, it all starts with your planning your relocation for Portugal.
Yeah, because I see it from, for example, from our clients, there are two types of people. One type is they really don't care where they move to, or they are not planning to move to. They just want to get a residence, or they just want to get an investment property. So where doesn't really matter as long as it makes sense. The other type probably is type of you and me. We really love the country, so we chose to live in Portugal specifically. But for this first type of clients or people, let's just say they want to compare passive income visa, because I know in Spain and Portugal, we both have passive income visa. What's the difference? Here we call D7. In Spain, I don't know, but
Passive income.
yeah.
Yeah, so mainly the first difference that we can notice is that the threshold for Spain is way higher than Portugal.
The monthly income.
The monthly income,
Okay.
yeah, that you need to provide to demonstrate in order to be eligible for the program. So you need to show that you have a steady source of income, that it's at least for the main applicant at least 2,400 euros
That's
per
like
month.
3 times more.
And while in Portugal it's a minimum wage, which nowadays we can roughly round up to 850 euros per month. And so both of them you need to provide. For example, if you have real estate in other countries and you have
Stocks,
if you're stocks, investments, if you are a pension or anything like that you can prove, or you have a track record that you have a stable source of income that every month is gonna deposit in your bank account, and that's the important thing of having the bank account in Portugal, because you need to demonstrate, or in Spain you need to demonstrate that you have these funds available inside the country.
So the income has already need to come to.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, although in the law they say that it needs to be available in the country, we see that in practice they want to see in a Portuguese bank institution.
So before we filmed the YouTube video, you even mentioned you saw like some Portuguese consulate is asking D7 applicants to deposit enough amount for them to live for a year in Portugal, which is like a monthly threshold times 12, right? That kind of, just to show you really can support yourself financially in Portugal. But Spain, the bar is way higher.
Exactly, yeah, and that's the thing about having a legal support when you're doing this process, because many consulates they have different interpretation of the law, and they are the gatekeepers of the process. So the law states that you need to demonstrate that you have sufficient income to support you throughout a year.
Yeah.
But then it's like in some paperwork you can show that for a whole year it's guaranteed that it's going to be deposit. But sometimes some consulates don't understand that this is enough, and they say, I don't care, please put it up front 1 year, because this way we will feel more secured that you have means to sustain yourself in the country. So that's the thing about, sometimes once we are in the process, we can establish communication with them, and sometimes we can help seeing if that's really needed, or if we can, with any other sort of documents of proof, we can surpass this. But it's really common, and for many clients of ours, they are preparing themselves for this move for quite a while. So sometimes these 1 year upfront, they will already use one establishing Portugal to, for example, when they need to rent a place, they need to have some
proof of accommodation, things like that, in advance already.
In advance. So for example, in some, you can tell us better about this, but when you're renting something or you're buying something, sometimes you need already to prove to the landlord that you already have enough to cover for the 3 first months, 6 sometimes.
Exactly.
6 first months.
Yeah.
So so this amount, it's already used for this purpose sometimes.
So although it seems the threshold it's small compared to, for example, golden visa for Spain, you need to have like initial investment for 500,000. But if you think about the passive income visa, also there's a lot of preparation and also involves a lot of funding, 1 year here, 1 year of rent there in advance. So we probably will suggest all of our clients to really, no matter what kind of visa, but start early, right?
Exactly. All the relocation process, by the end of the day, it's a project. So you need to be aware that it's going to be different phases and times. So for example, if we go over the very beginning of the process, we see a lot of questions if they can move straight to Portugal and apply straight for a residence permit in here. And this is a really common question, and that's actually the exception. The general rule is you need to apply for a visa in the Portuguese consulate in your home country. So even for this process, it's already, let's put it, at least 3 months to obtain the visa there, and then you move to Portugal, and then you have 4 months to apply for the residence permit. I mean, we need to really divide and understand what happens in each phase, So even if you, for example, are bringing furnitures, if you want to bring, I don't know, some clients want to bring their cars.
Yes.
They want to bring things that they treasure from their home country, and these also needs to put in the equation, because otherwise you can pay taxes on this importation of goods. But if you're already a tax resident in Portugal,
Exactly.
you can avoid paying taxes. So all of these different elements we need to put in perspective to really plan ahead and have all the steps covered in the process.
Okay, so this is passive income visa for Spain and Portugal. What about digital nomad visa? Is there any difference between Spain and Portugal?
So the digital nomad visa, it's actually a spin-off of the D7, because
Yes.
yeah, in the past we didn't have the digital nomad visa, and everyone, like, there's a reality in our world post-pandemic. A lot of people is doing that more and more, and they are coming to the countries and working remotely to foreign companies. And what they were doing, they were saying that this was a passive income. So they were like fitting in what wasn't there. So the government start creating specific programs for that. And in Portugal now, the minimum amount that you need to prove that you have either as a freelancer or
remote worker
for a company is 2,800 euros. Well, while in Spain, if I'm not mistaken, it's still in 2,400 euros, the same as would be.
So it's quite similar.
It's quite similar, yeah, but still Portugal, as you see, it's higher than Spain. So in a way, the Portuguese government tried to change it in a bit, the dynamics, because it used to be the D7 really low bar, and now they want to attract like a higher level, let's say a higher income for the country under this program. But in general, the government, like the law tries to make it more appealing to the digital nomads, but in general, the process is still pretty much the same as the D7, and there is not much of an advantage there. What I can say in Spain, in general, as I have seen it so far, the government and the whole procedure, it's a little bit more organized, let's say, than in Portugal, and clear than in Portugal, yeah. And both of them starts in the Portuguese or the Spanish consulate in the home country. In this sense, in this phase, it's really similar. In Portugal, they have up to 60 days to decide your application. In Spain, in 90 days. And then once you obtain your residence visa, you are allowed to enter the country to establish residency. And then in Portugal, you need to fight for an appointment in SAF.
In SAF, yes.
And to take your biometrics. And now, like most of the consulates nowadays, they already issued your residence visa with an appointment already.
That's very good.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing about when people ask us, can I go straight to the country and apply there? That can be the worst thing that you do to yourself, because you can be waiting for many months to have an appointment. And once you do it through the regular process, you can, in most of the cases, you go out from the consulate already with an appointment to issue your final residence card. While we were comparing with Spain, first your lawyer or yourself can just file for the paperwork, and then go to a police station to file to collect the biometrics and issue the card. So they divide the second part into process. First, you are allowed to issue the residence permit, and then you go to the police station to have the card.
And then they will mail the card.
And they mail the card back to you.
I think for my understanding about like D7 and digital nomad visa in Portugal, I think it's not so clear yet, right? It's not like Spain. If it's passive income, you go here. If it's remote worker, you go here. Because from what we know, some of the consulates still accept remote worker salary as D7. It's like you said, it totally depends on the gatekeeper's interpretation of the law. But by law, it's passive income is D7, which was the confusing part, because I think since the pandemic, at the beginning we called it retirement visa because it's pension, right? And then we call it digital nomad visa because there's a lot of digital nomad coming with the D7, the passive income visa. And then only recently we have this digital nomad visa, but people always ask, so the bar is very high, can I still go for D7? I think this really depends on each consulate.
Yeah.
By law, I would say no, right? If it's not a passive income.
No, that's a good thing to make it clear, because people don't understand where what is the D7 by the end of the day.
Yeah.
The D7, because all the articles that allows you to issue a residence permit in the law, they are separate different parts of the law. So, for example, if you're talking about the golden visa or the D2, which is the entrepreneur visa, they are all like related to an article in the law. So the Article 89 or the Article 90 for 90A, if it's golden visa. So when we are talking about the D7, it's actually the general rule. So it's like everything that is not fitted anywhere goes as D7. And this code D7 is just a code that they use internally in the consulate. So you see D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, and D7. It's like
just a code, like internal code reference.
Exactly. Yeah. So for example, and that's what happened a lot. If you have sufficient economic means to stay in the country, let's say you have 100,000 euros deposited in your account, let's say, and you want to write a book in Portugal and spend time and enjoy life, you would fall into the D7, because it's the general rule. Like you can, it's like, it's not that you're gonna rule out if you don't fit in any of the other categories. So, but most of the cases, the D7, it's either for retirement people, and there is also, another interesting fact, the D7 is also really used for religious people staying for religious purpose in the country. And it's even like one of the options when you're filling the forms in the consulate. So going back to your question, it's a jack of all trades. You can, it depends on how the consulate see it. You can pretty much fit in everything as a D7. And yeah, if they don't feel it like as it fits perfectly in the digital nomad visa rule,
you're going to D7.
You're gonna go to the D7.
That's very interesting. So this is like, okay. So now let's talk about the golden visa. This is more straightforward, right? First of all, let me know what you think of what's happening in Portugal regarding golden visa.
Yeah, it's my personal opinion, it's a shame that the program is about to end. I don't know if the audience is quite familiar, but there is a legal process to create a new legislation that will end the golden visa, especially on the context of the
housing crisis.
Yeah,
right?
the housing crisis, and the government started this program called More Housing for the People, and they put the golden visa as one of the villains of the process of the program. I don't agree with the government in this sense. I think the golden visa especially can be a really good program to build even more housings.
And refurbishing.
Yes. Back in 2022, they already rolled out Lisbon, Porto, and the main urban areas out of the program. So the reality right now is that the golden visa, it's just applicable for urban zone, interiors, and areas
low density
and areas that normally don't attract as much investment as the big cities. So we are taking this out of these regions that really need it.
Yeah.
And
also after they changed the law on Lisbon, Porto, and other coastal areas, this is where most of the housing crises are, right? In Lisbon, we have a big problem with a shortage of housing, but golden visa has already left. I also agree with you. I don't think this is the issue or this is the solution. I also think because we travel a lot in the interior and also in other areas in Portugal, for example, some really, really beautiful town, and you see some buildings that almost collapsing. Before, this would be perfect investment opportunity. And because of this, the local economy can thrive. You can build a Airbnb, you can build a boutique hotel, you can have a nice residential building there, and people can come work, invest, stay, and to really boost the economy. And now, if they're really removing this, I think they are, golden visa, but I don't know when. It will be a shame for us, especially, I think we love this kind of historic part of Portugal. And we want this part of Portugal can be can be revived almost, right? We don't want it to see it collapsing and then some building with over 100 years old tiles and just rots.
Exactly. Yeah, being like during this process, because it's quite confusing and sad that the way that it's being doing, it's not like the most transparent way and the most straightforward way. So it all started with a declaration from our prime minister saying that on the terms of this new program for more housing, they will end the golden visa. And then this started back in March.
Yeah.
And we are now in May, and we still we don't have clarity on that. And in this meantime, I've been participating in some meetings with players in the market, and they were related, like they were saying about, we have this investment that is bringing like 15 million euros to a city that the population is decreasing year after year after year after year.
Yes.
And because of our investment, there's a lot of people going back to work in the city, and there's attracting also all these digital nomads that wants to be close to nature, or and that it is a great opportunity to actually repopulate the interior of Portugal that's now heavily unpopulated because everyone has moved to the coast side.
Yes.
But anyway, the point is the situation right now is that we are waiting for the law to be approved or not, and the project that it's in discussion says that whenever the law is approved, it's gonna finish the program. As at the moment the law is approved, so there is still time. We are still like able to apply, and we in the projects there it's already like foreseen that everything that was applied until the moment that the law was approved will be started, it's still valid, and everyone who, even if their application goes all the way and it's approved and the card is issued, they can still renew the cards and they can still close the program under 5 years. So, and this was a big concern because when they started the discussions, they would say that to renew, you would need to have your houses rented in the
cannot be empty.
Market. It could not be empty. I mean, even if it was like a countryside house that you bought for yourself to come for vacations,
you need to rent it out.
You needed to rent it off, otherwise you could not stay in the program. I mean,
it was quite dramatic.
But it's quite a relief. But now we see like some clarity as well in terms of the renovations. We know that it's going to be possible to renovate, and it's still a good program because Portugal, it's one of the few countries in Europe that grants citizenship after 5 years. And we were talking about comparing with Spain, while in Spain it's 10 years to obtain citizenship. But the program there, it's issued a card for a period of 3 years initially, and then for a period for 5 years, and then after 10 years you can have the citizenship.
And the threshold is higher in Spain, right?
Yeah, it's 500,000 euros, 500,000. But in Portugal, we still had the
280,
350 for renovation works for those who, for old buildings that need renovation. And if it was in a low density zone, it could be as down 20% down, so to 280. So it was a really accessible golden visa program compared to the whole Europe scheme.
Especially, I think many of our clients, for example, if they come from big countries like US or Canada, they always concern like, oh my God, low density area is like in the middle of nowhere, no one goes, right? But in Portugal, actually, it doesn't count. First, it's a small country. Second is we have a lot of very, very good infrastructure. You can get to the low density area very easily. Also, we have lot of extremely expensive areas. It's low density, like Comporta. We cannot find property for our clients under $1 million in Comporta, like decent ones. We once found this 1-bedroom house, I think 30 or 40 square meter in Comporta, about like $500,000. This is a few months ago. So this is low density area. So I really think in Portugal, the Golden Visa program, even the lowest threshold, you can still find really, really nice areas, but you just have to dig.
True. And that's the thing, because the low density, it's actually related to that city So, for example, it can be a city really close to another big city
Yeah.
that is still considering low density for the for population aspects. Anyways, but Portugal, it's a country that you can go from bottom up in, let's say, 5 hours, 6 hours. So yeah, and you can be in a considered low density area from 1 hour and a half from Lisbon, sometimes even
True, true.
40 minutes,
Yes,
depending
yes.
in some situations, some cases.
Yeah.
So yeah, and most likely these places will be beautiful, and you're gonna find really historical little villages. So yeah, it has its attractives, and we were saying it's still time. Like if we move fast,
Yeah.
we can still make it. But everyone's talking about something in the middle of June, which is expected the law to pass. But the thing is, the law will only be in force after it's approved by the parliament and then
Approved by
promulgated by the president.
Yeah.
So I mean, even in this between, it can take like the president can have some doubts on the law.
Yes.
I mean, it's still quite uncertain on when this is going to be enforced. But for all matters' sakes, the law is still valid. We still can apply for the golden visa, and yeah, we can expect at least, I would say, 1 month or up to 2 months of this final window.
Basically, like till end of June, more or less.
Yeah, it's expected. It's tough to be in this position where we don't have this clarity.
I know. and we've been working with this uncertainty since February 16th.
Exactly.
Basically, once they announce it, and so far we still don't have any clarity. But it's more or less comforting to know that, because there were so many versions of rumors, right? Oh, the cutoff date is February 16th, or the cutoff date is somewhere in March once they announce this and that. But at least now we know we have a little bit buffer time, and as long as the new law is not enforced, we are still the current one is still valid, the golden visa.
Exactly. And there is still also is always some room. We have seen it, for example, in the past with our clients. We can always have, it's not necessarily the best way, but there is still ways of protecting our clients' interest. And if needed, we can go to court. And we have been to court, and we have seen the judiciary being really thoughtful to the concerns of the investors and the foreigners who decided to move to Portugal. And they have been ruling in favor towards, for example, our cases so far has been more concerned on the timing to obtain the residence permit. And
what's the record?
Yeah, they have seen cases taking 1 year,
Okay.
1 year and a half to obtain. But once we move with the procedure, in about 3 to 4 months, we can have we were able to have a ruling
Okay.
dictating that the Borders Authority need to schedule an appointment in up to 10 days.
Okay. Wow.
So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that even though can be some confusing or some things happening in the government side, there's still the judiciary to make sure that the law is being applied in the right way.
Yes.
And protecting the interests of the
investors. Yes. Well, thank you, Gabriel, so much to share your insight about Portugal and Spain and how to move to those two countries. I think it's very interesting to know what's really going on with the golden visa in Portugal. And also, I'm very happy to learn a little bit about the immigration, general visas and ways to Spain as well.
Yeah, no, but it's just important to highlight that we are Portuguese lawyers. We work inside Portugal, but we also have this experience of working with partners in Europe, not just in Spain, but in many other countries in Europe.
Yeah.
And we have local partners there that can support our clients once they decided to move to Spain. That's a little bit of what we aim to do. We aim to understand the big picture and what works best for each case. And if needed, we connect and make the bridge between the professionals the client might need. And that's a bit of our partnership as well, because we want to be close to companies that we trust and we value their work, because we want to be able to connect our clients with people who can actually make their dreams or make their relocation as smooth as possible.
Yeah.
and as easy as possible.
Of course, like that's how we see it as well, especially Europe being so small. And for example, we also check out property market in France and in Spain for some of our clients as well. And we also have trusted partner. But in Portugal, partnership is always very important because you don't want to rely on someone to take care of your clients that you cannot trust.
Exactly.
You want to make sure they are really taken care of. That's also the reason we started this series with the lawyers we trust and we work a lot with, so we can get the firsthand accurate information from you guys as well. For example, this golden visa, everyone is very confused, has been very confused. D7, I learned something like, oh, okay, there's a category, it's called D7. So yeah, thank you so much for being here with us. And if you guys enjoy this kind of content, please leave it in the comment below. See you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.